This is one of those ideas that has been thrown around for a long time, but I don't really know how many people care about it. I don't know how widespread the desire is to see this, and I don't really even know if WB or any gaming company really knows that some of us want this. So, before I get started, I do want to say that if you agree that this should happen, please do interact with this video. Share it, let people know, leave a like, leave whatever you want. Let me know, that this is what you want to see, and don't harass anybody, but share it online because game developers do follow this channel, believe it or not, with how small we are. Some do. And it's nice for them to kind of hear player feedback on stuff because I truly do believe that Batman Arkham Origins needs to either be one of two things. It either needs to be just straight up ported from the PC port onto modern hardware. Now, this could really be anything. Xbox One could handle this, PS4 can handle this, yes, but especially PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X or S are really what I think would be reasonable at this point to release the game on. It either needs to be ported from PC to those current generation consoles, or this game needs to be entirely remastered for current generation consoles. Now, here's the thing. I can play this game on my PC, and I'm not saying this is like, oh, look, humble brag, this guy's got a PC. I never really liked people like that. I just love games. I play them on PC, console, pretty much anywhere that plays games that I enjoy. I can play this game on PC in an insane frame rate at, well, on my PC 1440p, but it's only because of my monitor. Technically, you could bump this thing up into, 4K if you wanted to. Now, there are going to be some things with textures because not every texture is insanely detailed, even in the PC release. There are mods also to add to that. But the point that I'm getting to is this thing can already outclass its console version by quite a bit, especially because we're now talking 2020. This is a game running on PC that came out back in the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 generation. It was capped at 30 FPS on those consoles, if it even hit those at all times, which, by the way, it did not. It really dropped quite a bit. And also, it was only running at 720 pixels. Now, this game is actually backwards compatible on the Xbox One through the backwards compatibility program, meaning it is now playable on newer Xboxes as well because the backwards compatibility program does scale up. But the problem is it is still 720 pixels, really. I mean, yes, it fits your screen. Yes, it technically counts as what HD started as, but it does not look great even on that. That is the most modern way to play Arkham Origins, unless you want to play on PS4 and play with PS Now, which I think looks like a jumbled blocky mess, and that's on someone who has 750 megabits a second of internet. I'm not saying that's, a gig, but I'm just saying it's more than a lot of people have. I don't think PS Now is a good solution for it. It does need to be polished up. This game is actually a fan favorite. It did make my list of the top 5 Christmas games of all time. I truly do believe that Arkham Origins has an insane atmosphere. It does an amazing job, especially with the soundtrack, mixing Carol of the Bells in with Joker's soundtrack. Just everything it does to build an atmosphere is incredible. Now, are there things that players didn't enjoy about this game that are worth mentioning? 100%. I am not undercutting those. I'm not ignoring them. I understand that for a lot of people, the twist fell flat. They were in this for a Black Mask game, not a game with the Joker, but we got what we got. And a lot of us also still did really love it, that aside. Now, here's the thing. This is the prime time to re-release this. We are at the beginning of a new console generation. WB Games Montreal is working on Gotham Knights, which I'm not saying will not take up all their time, but it does leave the door open for Arkham. Now, one thing that I've seen a lot of on this channel, even since I moved away from how much Arkham I was covering, I'm sure you've noticed I've really toned it down because I was kind of burning myself out and really want to make other stuff too. But since I did back off from that a bit, I still notice it, even in the fan base on this channel, which is relatively small, is people saying, well, that's cool. I like that they're doing a Bat family game. That's neat. But what about Arkham? What about that continuity? What about the universe that they built there? And you also have the fact that the remasters of Arkham on the PS4 and Xbox One were a little sloppy with Asylum and City. especially on the base versions of those consoles. I'm not saying you can't have fun with them. Please don't take it that way. What I'm saying is that they could have been done a lot better. So I really do think it's going to sound silly to say it's ode to fans, but it is weird to let these games sort of rot on previous generations, especially Origins. This was the one game that was never brought up to the PS4 or Xbox One generation beyond just the backwards compatibility availability on Xbox One, like I said, and on PS Now, which I don't like. This needs an entire rework of textures. This should be running in, it honestly could easily run in 1440p. There's no excuse for that. You could definitely upgrade it to 4K with no issues, but 1440p 60 FPS would not be unreasonable at all. Really, at 1440p on the PS5 and Xbox Series X, this thing should be running at like 120 frames per second at least, but I don't see that happening because no one seems to optimize frame rate anymore at all. It just doesn't seem to happen very often, but that's an aside. I do think that this would be something that fans would connect with. I think that we could go back to Gotham City during Christmas. This would have been the perfect time to release it anyways, is this Christmas. Can you imagine how hyped that would have been to release this on 2020's Christmas after how crap of a year most of us have had? To be able to go back to Gotham in 4K 60 FPS or 1440p 60 FPS, whichever they go with, and go back in with these HD textures instead of 720p. Go back in and re-experience the Joker's story. And I was talking about this in my Discord with some people as well, which if you're not a member of, please check that out in the links down below in the description. Also where you can find the Patreon, Twitter, and many other things, Instagram as well. This is something too that could benefit from some more content. This isn't just something that has to be a straight port. If it was from the PC, that would be very easy. But if it was a remaster as well, you could technically add in new things to fill out the city. One big complaint about this game is that the city is too empty. Now, I think that that does actually add to the atmosphere a little bit at times. There are other places, though, where it just seems like there's nothing. There's nothing really from Enigma. There's nothing really from, I don't know, any major villain. You know, it's just an empty part of the city with maybe a thug in it or something, if even. Those things could be fleshed out as well. You could add new collectibles into the game very easily as well. You could add a couple more side missions to things like the investigations, which is one of a lot of fans' favorite parts of this game, is the Batman-esque investigations. I think that there's a ton that could be done with this to really flesh out this Arkham Origins experience and actually hit heights that it didn't hit with its original release. This would also actually help to differentiate it from the PC port as well if you were willing to put this effort in. And yes, you could still sell this on PC. That's not my point. It's like, no PC players allowed. But my point is that this would actually give them more of an incentive to resell the same game back to players, which is something that gaming companies are, let's be honest, always looking for an excuse to do. A couple months of development on new content really would be probably all you need for a few new missions, maybe a new villain, anything like that, some new collectibles. And beyond that, it would just be optimizing it and making it compatible with current system hardware, the PS5 and Xbox Series consoles. I truly do believe that this would be a fantastic idea. I don't see what could go wrong with it. And I do think that this would also reach out to a new generation. We're not that old, but you know what I mean. Like a new generation of players in terms of people who are maybe a little young when the first 3 games came out. Maybe they got into the franchise with Night, or they started picking them up around then on the PS4. And there are a lot of people who have never played Origins because of that, because of its lack of easy availability on their current system hardware. So this would bring in new players and old players alike. It would be guaranteed to sell units. And also, come on. I mean, who doesn't want to re-experience this story? Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I am very interested in your thoughts. I just wanted to pitch this because it's something that I've been thinking about, especially with it being Christmas of, you know, I've been messing around on this game again myself and just thinking, I wish more people who tell me that they can't play this game could. I wish there was a way to fix that. And now that we have new hardware out, yes, it is too hard to find and needs to be made more available, but it will be. You guys know, within 6 months, I really do believe anyone who wants one will be able to get next-gen hardware. But What I'm saying, though, is that this would really apply to everybody, and I think it's the perfect time to release it. So I'm interested in your thoughts down below. I do want to say a special thank you on this video to my patrons who help me out all the time. If you're interested in the Patreon, where you want to get access to exclusive behind-the-scenes videos that are honestly only shared with patrons, these are things that only patrons have access to, I would really appreciate you joining the Patreon, checking it out, checking out the tiers over there of support, because they help me out a lot with how unreliable views are and how unreliable it is to actually get these videos seen. Thank you to Caleb. Thank you to Steve, Jonah, Erwin, Caleb once again, Brohan, Nathaniel, Dylan, and Seth. You guys are amazing. I appreciate all of you from here to the moon. And if you're interested in the Patreon, please be sure to check that out. All the social medias are down below. Twitter, Instagram, it's all down there. Check out the Discord. I'll see you in the next one. Have a fantastic day. And as always, stay shui. And hey, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, whatever you celebrate, whatever you had a good time doing. I hope you had a fantastic day. I hope you have a great weekend. And I hope you get to spend some time with your family or your friends. They're the same thing, let's be honest. Peace out.